Welcome back, friends. We have an amazing guest today. Let's welcome Praneet Akilla, who plays Gregorio Shellbark on our beloved Motherland. Thank you for speaking with us today.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. So glad to be here.
Anytime. Yeah. We're sorry we didn't get more of Gregorio the entire show, but we're glad we got him. We're so glad. He's one of the best characters on the show, honestly. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. No, thank you all. I mean, it's always weird saying anything about it because like it's such a small role in the grand scheme of things. But what I found early on was it was a very vocal fan base and very passionate fan base, and I was a little shy at first, and then people started to reach out, and then I started to reach out to them as well, and then it just became this whole thing that's even beyond me at this point. And so as a fan of the show, first and foremost, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just have fun interacting with everybody, and I think even being on set and stuff, I think we all wanted more of a Gregorio. I just think, I mean, we'll get into it, but yeah, I think for the tiny role that I played, just the amount of love and support has been just insane. So yeah, thank you guys.
Honestly, it was so well deserved, and in this story of Motherland, which is mostly like focused on kind of like the female aspect, especially when it comes to like the witch army, it was really refreshing to have to focus on a male witch, especially Gregorio, who was not just like there, but he was like part of like the military, like he was actively about to like fight. He was part of a coven. So how do you think this affected Gregorio? He's one of the few male characters we see that's in kind of like almost combat kind of role. How do you think like preparing for that affected him as a male witch in that society?
Well, I think it's a number of things. I mean, I think there's a couple of things there. It's he comes from a position of privilege and power already, being a High Atlantic, and so he's coming from the same sort of level that Abigail is. It's from the same society. So, yes, it is female centric, and the power dynamic has been shifted, unlike our our society in real life, of course. And so he understands the male witch's place in that universe. But at the same time, he's also, when it comes to hand fasting or sort of those arranged marriages that happen at that level, he's been told his whole life that like he is somebody special, and that he's required to propagate that line. And so it is not only does he understand his place in the world, but he's also he understands his role as well. But the thing is, with that, he also understands the privilege that he has and the power that he has to even speak up. I mean, there's people I'm sure in that society that come from much poorer societies that can't speak up or have the soapbox to speak up or do those things. And in fact, there were two scenes that were cut from I think it was season 2 episode. I think it was the premiere. It was like the episode that Gregorio was first introduced, and there were two scenes that were actually cut from that episode. Because I can say this now because the show's done, but like there were two scenes where he's literally on a soapbox, like having a speech to the witches about male witch rights. There was one scene like that, and then there's a scene with Adil where he like chases Adil down after the class, and he talks to Adil about joining him because he was going to organize a march, to fight for male witch rights. And so there's some things that like it hurt me, of course, and these decisions are made due to logistics and money and time and all those things, and I wish the characters got a glimpse of not the characters, I wish the audience got a chance to watch those scenes, because it really informed who he was and what his character was. But at no point, he fights for male witch rights, but he also I think that the thing I love about Gregorio is he also gives space to the female witches in his coven. I don't think there's any sort of malicious or bad bone in his body where it's like, he's about equality, if anything else, but he at no point is it like male witches are better or anything like that, So yeah, I think I rambled so badly there. But
no, you didn't.
No, Gregorio's an activist. I love him more now.
Yeah, like that's even more reason to love him.
Well, that was on the original breakdown. Like that was the scenes that I auditioned with. Like that was all a part of the character. Oh yeah, like it was a whole thing. Yeah.
See, that's even a good segue into our next question, which was how much did you know about him when you auditioned?
Just what they gave me, right? Like I read a bit of the script, and the initial breakdown of the character talked about all these things. They talked a lot about his humor and his snarkiness and his wittiness, and then they talked about his relationship with Abigail and Abigail's family. And of course, reading the script, I kind of dug into his relationship with Libba, and I even asked Elliot when I got the part about, because I watched season one, but I wanted to get a deeper sense of where he came from and his relationship with Libba, because he truly did love her, and so that's when I started to get more and more details about him. But I think it's always interesting, right? When a new male witch character is announced, it's always like, oh my god, is he gonna what relationship is he going to ruin, or where he's coming into, like, it was Garrett at first, and now it's Abigail's love interest, because that's what it was initially. To me, it was like, oh, is it Abigail's love interest? He's gonna come between Adil and Abigail, and thankfully it wasn't that, because I definitely did not want that. And so naturally, even my relationship with Ashley initially, she was a little, and she's not going to mind me saying this, she was a little cold in the sense of, like, she was like, who's this dude, coming into set, and because she was also, I think part of her was a bit scared as well that, like, we would go in that direction, and eventually we both were like, yeah, no, this isn't a thing. We're brother and sister, and you can even see that in the dynamic of season 2, where he's literally just wants to be there for her and reconnect, because they used to be old friends, and she's giving him space to do that initially, and so there's this banter between them that I love, that we were able to establish, and that also bled into our real life as well. So yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that. It definitely does have sibling energy between the two of them.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
it could have easily been like weird power dynamic stuff, given like they came from like the privileged society, but it's very not. It's like very respectful. I do love that.
Exactly. And you did ask, and your question was a great one, which was, like, he obviously has witch physiology, right? He's got, enhanced vocal cords, he's got these different weapons and things like that. But even in terms of, just the philosophy of the Coven, and when they are in a position where they're under attack, if you notice, like, a lot of the time, and this is something that we discussed even with the stunt coordinators, and Brian as well, who's one of our EPs, typically the attacks were reserved for our female witches, and he would do defensive flanks. And this is getting very nerdy here when it comes to, like, the attack tactics and stuff. Like,
this is the stuff we love.
yeah, but I was reserved to defensive flanks, which is basically I'd watch everybody's back, and then they would take charge of the attack strategy, which is why when I get shot with the arrow or whatever, like, I'm that is literally my role in the structure of a coven, is to essentially sacrifice myself should a situation arise. And so that's why, no matter how many snarky comments he would make, or he kind of appeared to be a little bit of a, I don't know, like, I didn't want him to come off as too mean-spirited or too much of a smartass. And I think knowing all this backstory about him, I was just like, oh no, he's actually a really good guy. He's actually a really good person. He just wants, equality when it comes to society. He wants certain, especially when it comes to employment in the military, he wants certain rights advocated to male witches and things like that. So, but yeah, it's a shame we never got to really fully explore that, I feel. But yeah,
that would have been so fun.
It would have been.
And you played it perfectly, because he never came off as too snarky or in any way he always came off as like this really sweet guy who had good one-liners in the moment.
Yes.
So
totally. And that was the first time I also got to just play somebody that was kind of like that. I think up until that point, I was just playing a lot of broody, like broody McBroodsters, like very like broody leading man brood type people. That was good English right there. And
Love it.
and then finally I just got to be a person that just like had some good, like, sort of, you speak of those one-liners, there were much more, right, in the scenes that I talked about, and so it was just fun to play somebody so different from what I'd been playing up until that point, and then just getting to just kick ass on set, just like it's a childhood dream, right? Just to, literally a fight, like that sequence with the dolls in season 2 and stuff, and like just getting to do that, and the green screen work, and like running and jumping and explosions, and like this I always get the pronunciation wrong. Samhain,
Oh,
Sawan,
Samhain?
Samhain.
I
There we
know
go.
the spelling. Yeah.
Spelling it always, yeah.
Yeah.
But the Salem, like that whole sequence, like those horses and those people riding those horses, that was all real. Like that was all real,
Oh,
right? None of that was CGI. And we
nice.
literally had like horse trainers in all that get up, like riding these black horses, and it was raining that day. It was like pouring, and it was like 2
Yeah.
a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. We were shooting that, and like, just getting to be in that position and just being like, this is so freaking cool that, and I'm a huge, like, Harry Potter fan, of course, growing up. And so, like, sure, it's not exactly the same wizard witch thing, but like just being in that moment, I was just like, this is the closest I'll get, to being a part of something like that, and so, yeah, it was an absolute blast.
That's super cool.
Oh, I love that so much. And I totally agree. I think Gregorio has a lot of versatility to him, and he's a very he's not in the show the whole time, but he's such a full character like when we get him. And I think a piece that like helped humanize him pretty early on is number one, his relationship with Abigail, but also when we learn about Libba. And so we're just kind of curious. You talked about this a little bit, but how much did you know, like backstory wise, about Libba, and like what was Gregorio's like grieving like for her? Because we kind of come into like the tail end of that a little bit as an audience.
Yeah, it's the very tail end of it, and yeah, I mean, I watched season 1. And so I sort of knew the surface level relationships between Libba and Abigail and the characters. And Elliot told me sort of the timeline, which was that he, like, when Libba left for school or whatever, he was in it because they kept them separate, so it was a different school. But they had like a bit of a long distance relationship at that point. But they were together for about 2.5 years.
Wow.
Up until that point. And so, yeah, when he crashes that scene with the three of them in the bedroom, and he says, Libba and I were actually together back then, and him being at the funeral and everything like that. It's those moments. It's tough, sometimes as an actor, it's like you can only actualize so much of what you see. Like I do wonder about this alternate universe where I spent time with the actor who played Libba, maybe a little bit in season 1, and like what the stakes would have been in season 2. But it was very emotional for him because it was 2.5 years is a long time, being in that relationship. And also it's a tough relationship to be in family wise, because everybody in the high Atlantic society and his family wants him to be with Abigail. Like that's his entire responsibility. He's not going to have a high position in the military. He's not going to, whatever he does with the rest of his life, his proudest accomplishment to his family will be propagating the bellwether line, so that's his sole responsibility. And so you can imagine the toll that it takes on relationships with his family, being with somebody like Libba. But, regardless of that, he still was in a committed relationship with this person, which speaks to how much she truly did love her. And I wish in season 2, and again, just because I'm not the main character, so it makes sense, but like, I wish we got a chance to film, like, the scene with the candle, and like, and he was able to go talk to her, and you could see that would have been wonderful. Yeah.
We would have loved that. We missed Libba.
Yeah.
We do.
Oh, yeah, I know. She's wonderful. The act, from what I've never actually met her, but like from what the cast has told me, yeah, she's great. So.
We talked about her a lot on the podcast for quite
Has
a
she
while.
been on the podcast? Or when did you guys when did you all start the podcast?
Oh, like a year ago.
After season 2, yeah.
After season 2. Yeah. Oh. And we didn't really start doing interviews until somewhat recently.
Yeah, a couple months.
I think we started with Arlen.
Bob.
Right.
Bob was first.
We started with Bob, and then we went to Arlen. Okay. How can I forget Bob?
I don't know, Bree.
Love them.
Jeez. Do not tell him. Swear you both to secrecy. Anyway. So there's a hand-to-hand combat scene where Abigail takes Gregorio down in 203.
Yes.
We had the pleasure of speaking with the fight coordinator, Michelle C. Smith,
Mm-hmm.
a while back, and she gave us a little bit of insight into her job. Now, can you tell us about shooting that scene or like any fight scene from your perspective?
Yeah, it's a lot of rehearsal, and it's very like it's not. It doesn't feel badass while you're practicing because it's very specific and very targeted because you don't want to hurt the actor. And so it was. I think we had like 2 or 3 rehearsal sessions, and not just Ashley and I, but like everybody in that scene. But like it was once we had the weapon in the hand, or she had the weapon, and I think yeah, I actually, I had it too. But like, it was very like target. It was like target practice, very like slow motion target practice. My stunt double, his name's Kirpa Budwal. He's fantastic. He's literally been my stunt double for like every show I've done, and so he trained me for it as well. And that's because there's not many brown guys that do stunts in Canada. So shout out to Kirpa, by the way. He's wonderful. And so yeah, he was my stunt double, and so he trained me a lot. And so it's very meticulous. It's like very like it can be very boring at times, because you want to make it very precise. And then slowly the speed ramps up, and then by the time you're on set, the directors and the producers assume that you're ready to go, and so we have like a warm up run with the stunt coordinators, and then we start shooting, and then we've got several takes to get it right. And of course, it's still, no matter how you slice it, it's still very short rehearsal time because you're only like 1 or 2 rehearsals. And I'm from the theater. I've been doing theater my whole life, and so when it comes to theater, like you're doing a whole play or musical on stage, and you've rehearsed for a month, and then you do the show for 2 months, and so it's like so deeply ingrained. But for film and TV, we just don't have that kind of time, and so mistakes will happen. Ashley did smack me in the face. So that was fun. She still apologizes to this day, and I've like done this thing now where like I make her feel bad, like I'm actually totally fine, but like so that's been fun to torture her mind a little bit. And yeah, and then of course I became a meme because somebody spotted my mistake, which was she like hit me a certain way and I moved the other way. And that's because we're not actually being hit, so we don't feel, the instinctual impulse to move our body the way that we're hit. And I was doing choreographed movement, and so that became an entire meme on Twitter, basically, for that entire week. It still haunts me to this day, but I love it. I secretly love it, and so yeah, that's the insight.
I remember that meme.
Yes. It was floating around for a long, long time.
It was. People would not let it go. I was like,
no.
Oh, I've seen it again. All right. There's Praneet going by.
And in fact, I wasn't. I mean, y'all roasted me for it after. Like my mom actually saw it before, and she's the one that
no way. Your mom got you.
My mom was the first one to be like, "What are you doing? Like you're moving the wrong direction." I was just like, "Listen,
that's amazing."
I was just like, first of all, I can't, like the editors and the directors and the producers, they themselves didn't notice,
right?
For some reason,
but
everybody else,
leave it to moms.
yeah. Seriously, like, and she like doesn't watch anything, and then she watches this, and she's like, not even like, oh my god, this is so cool, watching my son on TV, like nothing. It's like you're moving the wrong way with your knees. Fix it.
You can't even get that. It's cool that you're on TV doing a fight scene. No, what the heck?
I'm gonna post something that I had a text. I was texting my dad texted me. He's just catching up on the last season of Motherland, so he's watching the last 2 episodes. And I'm gonna post it. I'll post it on Twitter. You'll see. Okay, you'll see the text exchange.
We'll keep our eyes peeled.
Yeah,
because that sounds like something we would like to see.
Oh yeah, it keeps me humble, very humble.
So, moving away from stunts for like a minute. Another character we get to see Gregorio bond a lot with is Adil, especially in season 2. And so I'm just wondering what Gregorio thinks of that relationship, because like you kind of mentioned, there's not a lot of like male witches. So like here comes Adil. So like what did Gregorio kind of like think of him, and how did their relationship kind of evolve?
I think it's based on a foundation of just deep respect and admiration. Like Gregorio is Adil's number one fanboy. Like I would like to think that he's got posters. If Adil was a superhero, like uh, he would have posters of him like all over his bedroom wall. That bromance is not something that was manufactured. Like it is very. It was very much there in the script. Obviously, I talked about some of the scenes that were cut between them to develop that bromance more, but like that was always there. The Adorio thing, was a very real thing for both of us and the creators of the show. And it's for someone like Gregorio who's fighting for male witch rights. Adil represents sort of the apex of what that means, right? Which is, for someone like an Adil with the power that Adil has, it's very much a, absolute power corrupting absolutely. Like that's a version of that could have potentially happened, but Adil is so not that, and so when Gregory is fighting for those rights, it's like this is an example of what this could be. This is an example of what we could train young male witches to become. Not just as witches and not just about powers and all the cool stuff, but like it's about them as men in society, about how they can actually be the shining light, to everybody in that universe, which is Adil in essence. So I think it starts with a deep respect and admiration for, and then obviously he's trying to learn mother tongue, and so there's scenes with Adil teaching him mother tongue, and I really loved the last scene in season 3, the one that they had a little moment they had before the wedding.
Yeah, that was so cute.
There's deep love there, and there's a deep admiration, respect, and love, and if you're gonna count Abigail as sort of his little sister in a way, like or whatever, it's like he's just a proud older brother kind of thing, being like if there's somebody that she's marrying, I'm glad it's you kind of thing, and so yeah, I think that's what that relationship is based on, and I just wish we had more time. That's going to be the theme for
I know.
for Gregorio in general, right? It's a good lesson for any actor out there. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just so much is out of your control. Like so much is out of your control, and like I'm sort of transitioning into doing more producing my own content and stuff like that a lot more as well. And so like I get it. Like it is a hard job, and I got to shadow the directors on Motherland because I asked if I could shadow them, and I got to even like do little mini unpaid internships in the producing room and stuff like that, and like getting to learn how a show is made. It's fascinating, and it's easy to take something like that personally, but like I'd show up to set some mornings and I'd talk to Brian and be like, oh, this line's been cut or this scene's been cut, and Brian would be so distraught about it. He'd be like, oh dude, this is the last thing I wanted. I didn't want to run into you today because I knew if I ran into you, I'd have to have this conversation. And you have no idea how hard I fought for it yesterday, and it didn't go through, and I'm so sorry. And so they like the showrunners and the producers take it as personally as we do and as the fans do. And it just sucks. Like reality sucks sometimes where it's like things just get in the way. Like, be it weather, be it money, be it like a location dropping out, be it like one of the directors that they hired isn't getting things on time, and so now they have no choice but to cut scenes, to make their day. And so I had to sort of be gracious and just take that in stride and be like, you know what, maybe not this character, another character I'll play, it's going to be a bit more developed, but I loved whatever limited time that Gregorio had on screen and whatever limited time that he had on the page. I'm glad that the producers and the showrunners gave me the room to experiment and play with whatever I had, at least, because I've been on sets and places where you don't even have that type of freedom, and so I think it's to their credit that I was able to fully embody him as much as I could. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I think the theme of like our theme with the show has been we need more time in general.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like Elliot's like world and brainchild was so huge that we could have used like 10 more episodes a season. So
100%. And in fact I talked to Elliot about that on the last day, or at least my last day. because he said he's like how are the because he's not on social media, and so he asked me. He's like, how's everybody taking it? Like, how's Twitter now? And I told him, and he's like, believe me, never say never. I'm also fighting, and so Elliot also, and if correct me if I'm wrong, it was initially going to be a book series, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's going to be a book series, and so if anything, maybe you never know. Like maybe he starts writing. Future sort of subsequent things as a novel, better than nothing, but yeah, I'm also very hopeful as a fan of the show. Yeah.
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
We could pull it out somehow. Someone could take pity on us.
Trying though. Everyone's trying, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Just wait. We'll have more trucks outside of Hulu and things. All right, so army witches are split into specialties: fixer, knower, blaster, and necro. Does Gregorio have a specialty, and what would yours be if you were a witch yourself?
I don't think we ever discussed what a specialty is. I mean, I guess from my conversations with them, I was just talking about like him being like really good at setting a defensive flank in military terms. So what would that be out of the 4 categories? What did you say again? You said
he's probably in the blaster category.
He's because he did blaster magic
work at the end.
He did blaster work at the end.
That's like the weather.
I was just curious. Yeah. So
yeah.
Blaster, knower being like tallies, fixer, Rael, necro.
I would say blaster.
Not a necro.
Definitely not a necro.
No.
He always struck me as a blaster anyway. So
yeah,
blaster. I would say blaster. And in terms of me, ooh, that's a very good question. I think
we only ask the hard questions.
Yeah. I think I'm a fixer.
I could see that. You give me fixer energy.
I'm a fixer. I think I'm a fixer. Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of like caring for others and nurture.
Yeah, I like to fix things.
Helping.
Helping. Sometimes to my own detriment, I feel sometimes. There is that too. Sometimes you just have to walk away.
You'd have that in common with Rael.
Yeah, exactly.
So from basically everybody we've talked to about who have worked on Motherland, whether it be crew, cast, everybody's had very wonderful things to say about it as a whole, as a project. So we're curious, what has your experience on Motherland like taught you about yourself or your abilities as an actor?
Good question. I think first and foremost, it taught me a lot. I mean, I kind of touched on it before, but it really taught me both the good and the bad of the business, right? I think there's this idealistic view of like when you're an up-and-coming actor, you walk into something and you're like, it's going to be amazing. And it was. The experience was amazing. But then you also see the harsh realities of show business, which a show like this really taught me on a smaller scale. Like at the end of the day, even Motherland isn't like Stranger Things level budget, right? So it's like it's got, even in its sweet spot of being a freeform show, a Disney freeform Hulu show, I got to see sort of the inner workings of something like that. And so I think for me, it sort of enlightened me to like, well, how this business actually works. But then that also empowered me to make choices as an actor, recognize that, hey, you're not going to have all the time in the day to take all your time in front of the camera and do whatever you want, like Ashley, Taylor, or Jess do, because they're the main characters. And so they get that screen time and the power to be able to do that and ask for notes and ask for changes. So as a recurring character like me or Arlen or S or, even Bob, but Bob is a different category because he's like, on a different level than all of us. But like, it's one of those things where it also taught me how to use that limited time and be efficient with it, and I think many young actors, they don't know that when they come into this thing. And so the show unintentionally taught me that as well. And then outside of it all, just like the kindness and like how incredibly kind everybody was on that set. And it started from the top down, you know. Amanda Tapping was our executive producer and director on many of the episodes. Her energy as a director is, I mean, I can see why people were crying so much by the end of it, because she just made it such an incredible place to work. Like, not a single grumpy, you know, curmudgeon on set ever. Everybody was just so happy to be there. Everybody was so happy to devote their time and their energy and love to make something really, really special for you all. And I think that mission was very clear, and it was just done so well by Amanda. She really set the tone from day one, and even above her, like even Elliot and like Brian and just every single person from the number one to, you know, the special effects crew to the people that served as lunch. Like it was just such a wonderful set to be on, and so that gave me a great example going forward. Now that's the benchmark for me. Like, and anything I work on in the future, like this show will be a benchmark because I can see how good it can be. And so no other show has an excuse to be anything less than when it comes to people skills and how to treat people. And so yeah. I think I answered your question. I could be rambling again, but yes, you know,
No, you did.
Those are one of many things, you know, the show has taught me. And of course the people, you know, like the relationships. I think that's the biggest thing that I'll take away from it all. Just the moments of laughter in between and like just being silly and, yeah, I'm so glad I'm still in touch with everybody. And so I think luckily it's not going to be one of those shows, I think, where we just become strangers to each other and never talk to each other again. I think it'll be one of those shows where we've all sort of bonded and yeah, it's going to be a wonderful time getting to know people outside of the show now as we keep going. So
there you go.
Yeah.
You answered it, and this is a place for rambling anyway, so
you can cut. So.
No.
Never.
No, your answer was great.
No, it seems like it was extremely impactful just for a lot of people that were involved with it. So, like, thank you for sharing, like, multiple aspects of what it meant to you and your experience.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's no coincidence, this might be a controversial statement, but it's no coincidence that a female-led show, it was a little less egoless, if that makes any sense. And I'm not I know that like people will be like, oh, well, way to generalize there, but and I don't mean to generalize because of course every situation is different, but like, yeah, I mean, there's a reason when women are in charge, it just feels, I don't know, it just feels like there's just less pride and ego that determines stuff on set, you know. There's just a little more generosity, a little more openness. But I can only speak for myself. That's just been my experience on set. I can't speak for every single person on the crew and the cast, of course. But yeah.
No, that makes sense. There have actually been studies about women leaders in corporate environments and how they're able to cooperate and make concessions and like have a more open communication environment than in general than male CEOs. Yeah. So it makes sense, and generalizations exist for a reason, like stereotypes do. So it's not like it makes sense is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we'll switch gears a little bit and do something slightly more fun.
This has been fun till now, so I don't know what you've done.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can get more fun than this. But...
You just wait. We should be wrong.
The fun hasn't... Caitlin's not here yet, so the fun hasn't begun.
Oh, right. Okay.
Caitlin's not invited yet. No, you hide, Caitlin.
No, you get out of here.
We've been cursed.
You'll get your time. He's ours now. What would Gregorio's go-to karaoke song be?
Oh my goodness. Gregorio's. I know what mine. Gregorio.
So
what's
you're gonna have to
yours?
tell us both now that you mentioned
yours.
Well, okay. Well, mine is "I Want It That Way" by Backstreet Boys. That's my
nice.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yes.
I think Gregorio's might be anything by Tina Turner.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. I like it.
I can see that 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of Tina Turner vibes in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
I love that.
Yeah. Yes.
See.
Good choice.
Yeah.
See.
Now, see, that's another scene that got cut, unfortunately.
Yeah, obviously. That's why you need
The
the answer so
Motherland
quick.
musical episode.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Someday.
I think what's love got to do with it? I think that's a good.
Oh yes!
Gregorio.
Now I'm gonna have that
Oh, yeah.
image in my head.
Oh,
Gregorio
yeah.
singing that on stage after some witches' tears.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, aside from being super fun and would kill it at karaoke, in general, Gregorio comes off as a very noble character in a lot of ways. Like, we see that demonstrated several times throughout the season. And so he has a lot of really good traits, and we're just wondering, like, does he have any bad traits, like, at all? Because we don't really see them.
Yeah, that's true. You don't really see them on the show necessarily, but I think, I'd like to think that we all have flaws. I think Gregorio's. I think Gregorio's biggest flaw would be that he cares too much. No, I'm kidding. No. That's such a. God, you really stumped me with this one. I don't know. What are his flaws? It's a very good question.
Caring too much can be a flaw to your own
Caring too
detriment.
much?
It can be.
You know?
Caring too much. I think I touched on it before. Ego, like I think that's definitely a part of it. You know, there's a little bit of ego. There's a little bit of like I'm the smartest person in the room, and I think I know what the solution to this
I can
thing
see
is.
that, yeah.
Right? Or like I know you guys are going this way, but really we should go this way. Really, that's where you want to go. Okay, fine. Like the eye rolly thing, like
The judgmental.
I think the judgmental. I think judgmental for sure. I think
I can see that.
I think stubbornness, judgmental. I think he does have like even in. I think I like to think that he's got like this high like the snobby fashion thing going on as well.
Oh yes,
does.
I can see it.
He definitely
He totally.
He's got like the thing that the get up, and it was too dark in the show. Like it was just because everything was at night. But like what I was wearing, like that jacket and that shirt is some high. That's like some Met Gala like stuff there. Like it was actually very like everybody was complaining. Like everybody, the whole cast and even the costume department were like, why does he get to wear this cool fashion stuff? And I'm just like, that's because that's how Gregorio dresses in real life. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's Gregorio.
Yeah, that's Gregorio Shellbark. Funny anecdote, I thought his last name was Bellshark the entire time, and so I was just like, or all the Bellwethers, like I thought it was Bellwether,
so
Bellshark. I was just like the whole High Atlantic people, like in season 2, like it was embarrassingly late when I found out that it was Shellbark. Like I've been saying it wrong the whole time, and I was just like, oh, okay, I guess all of the High Atlantic witches, like it's Bell and something else. So I was just like, there's probably like a Bell Tiger, Bell Lion, Bell something, and then Ashley was like, you idiot, it's Shellbark, and so that my entire fantasy was ruined.
That's a mistake I would have made.
Yeah, totally. That train of thought makes sense.
I think so.
Like,
It does.
we see how you got there.
Yes. You got all the Bell societies. All you know, there's a whole storyline there. But
it's the bells.
It's the bells. So yeah, I think those are his flaws. But yeah, I feel like with some of those scenes and stuff like that, especially maybe the speech, like the speech about witch rights and stuff like that, I think people would have seen a little more of that. But even that scene was very like, it was a different angle that the show hadn't had up until that point. So I think even that, he didn't really come off as snobby or arrogant really in that scene either. He was very much, this is what I want. This is what I'm trying to fight for. And yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I am sad we didn't get to see that.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh well, there's not enough time for all the good stuff.
But thank you for telling us about it, that it exists.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I hope I don't get into trouble for it, but I think I should be fine now.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, yeah.
I should be fine.
All right, so firstly, Gregorio has good taste in women, obviously.
Yes, agreed.
But what do you think attracted him to Libba and Tally? And what do you think they brought to him in return?
Hmm. I think Gregorio really uh, is attracted to emotional availability. That makes sense.
Yes.
Um, I think he comes from such a analytical, high sort of frequency, like very like a world that's based on like numbers and logic and
Mm-hmm.
these things. And I think opposites attract. Where I think what somebody like a Libo or a Tally allows. I mean, you look at Tally. I mean, as a character, like she's so emotionally available. Um, she's like an open vessel for the people that are around her, and even with her upbringing and everything like that. Like she's such a. I mean, there's that innocence, right? There's the bit of that innocence and naivete that gets hardened over time. She grows a thicker skin over time, of course, all the adversity that she has to go through. But like, if you think back to Tally in season one, like who she is, as a person, I think that's what Gregorio sees in her, is that season one version of Tally when she's so new to everything and she's just so excited and she's so excitable and she's very like she's just so emotionally available and so there for others, very much like Gregorio. And I think from a very sort of his whole upbringing has been in such a logical, analytical world that when somebody has that sort of just when they think with their gut and when they're just so emotionally available, I think he sees it as just like this warm, cozy bed that he just gets to fall into, for once to just remove that sort of that stuff from his head, and I think that's what Libba and Tally, at least for me, and I'm talking purely just backstory that I sort of had to make choices on and talk to creators on. I think that's the fundamental reason why um, he's attracted somebody like a Tally. Abigail, obviously, for obvious reasons, more friends than lovers, and also they're from the same society. It's boring to him, at that point. I think this is not
Yeah.
going to keep propagating the same sort of line for him, and then of course Rael for obvious reasons, and so I think out of the coven, Tally represented that for him, So yeah,
She's a very good choice.
I would agree. Yeah. Though I understand, I fully understand the other relationship, which as a fan of the show, I was just like, that makes sense. It's been developed.
Right.
Mhm.
And so I think as an actor, I totally get the whole like, huh? Like what? Like you missing the whole season 3. Like he just shows up and then so I totally understand that. Like I I fully get it. But it's one of those things where I was just like, I'm not going to say no to showing up and doing a show and saying bye to everybody, for the last time. Unfortunately, I was just like, I just want to, if I get to just be a part of this world one more time before everyone says goodbye, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do what they tell me to do, And so I was just happy. And Jess is one of my really, really good friends, and we're supposed to hang out again next week. I've been away. I've been not in town for a long time, but like she's just such a genuine, wonderful spirit. And so getting to do those scenes was funny because we're such good friends more than anything else. It was not sexy like at all. It was very, very funny. We were just laughing the whole time. And so just getting to spend more time with her in that way is just always amazing.
That and that painting
I
that
know.
was in there with you guys.
Yep.
Whoever props
I know,
to the
that was
props
funny.
on that,
I
'cause
know.
that was creepy.
I know. Very creepy. Very disapproving. I know. It's funny. Like I was, Jess was filming another scene, and I there was still I had like I think I had like a 4-hour break or something between scenes, and I like went up. We were filming in this mansion, and like I just went up to that spot in the mansion, and I just sat there, and I was just like rehearsing the scene with myself. And I got creeped out because they put the picture there, and I was just alone. Nobody else was there, and
No!
I found myself just staring at the painting for like abnormally long, and I swear like the painting like moved a little bit, and I was like, all right, you know
Oh,
what?
hell no. No!
I'm running away. I'm walking out of here.
Was
So-
that worse than the dollhouse?
In a way, yes, because it's subtle. Like it's like really weird and creepy. Like it's the dollhouse. Like they're there in front of you, and so it is what it is. But like this one was just like I was alone. At least there, the crew was around me and stuff. Like I,
Mm-hmm.
but Yeah, yeah,
Do not want.
Yeah. I'm so
not.
sorry.
yeah.
You should have just taken it home with you.
Oh man, yeah. Actually, somebody contacted me the other day about my combat blues. It was sold in an auction or something, and somebody has them.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I got some stuff in that auction too. We all kind of,
Yeah.
everyone banded together fan wise to buy as many of the lots as possible so that we
Right.
could sell them. The ones we didn't want to keep, sell them to other fans at the price that they were bought at, and not like a jacked up price.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I
So-
think it the jacket, like the jacket that I wore is now with the drama department of like some school.
That's
Yeah.
so
That's
cute.
cool.
So yeah, I was really touched by that. I was like, actually, yeah, she was kind enough to message me and be like, hey, I'll ship it back to you if you want it. And I was just like, and she's like, but I'm also thinking of giving it to the drama. And I was like, the drama department, like give it to that's amazing.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I've got Adil's pants.
You got Adil's pants?
She does.
I have several things, but among them are Adil's pants. They're the ones that they called his daddy pants.
Oh, those. Okay. Tony will be very disappointed. I'm kidding. I don't know, but Tony should be happy.
He can have them.
No.
They came in a lot with some of Edwin's stuff and some of Quinn's stuff and one of Scylla's jackets.
That's so cool. It's so weird being on the other side of it. It's like a weird because I'm like, before I became an actor, I'm a fan of all these things. I'm just a huge nerd, and so I would buy stuff from Comic Cons or auctions and stuff like that, and I would have like signed things from people, and like it's just weird. Like I still don't see myself that way. I still see myself as a normal person, of course, but so it's just like it's a weird like thing where even just fan art, like like I would do fan art, or I would like look at other people's fan art and stuff, and like so it's weird like when people are so kind enough to draw Gregorio's like fan art and like post it and stuff. It just trips me out. It's so weird in like a good way. Like I'm really grateful for it, but it's like it's such a that's like, one of the wildest things about this whole experience for me. But
bizarre meta moments.
Oh yeah. It doesn't sink in. Right?
Now that you said that, I'm totally going to do a Gregorio edit.
You don't have to.
No,
but yeah,
it's going to happen. I want to, and I've already done one. I'm working on Emily's right now.
Oh, cool. That's another character that I wish I could have seen much more of. Isadora.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody does, because Isadora is the coolest.
She is.
Yeah. Badass.
All right. Well, we've reached the point in the podcast where Caitlin can come back because she wants to talk to you.
It got really crazy in my house like 10 minutes ago, and it hasn't stopped. Girls, are you fine?
They're dogs, by the way.
Oh, the dogs.
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Dogs.
They're dogs.
Are your siblings sleeping on the floor right now? Okay.
She's talking to her invisible friends.
Hey,
they're dogs.
I had some great invisible friends growing up. They were some of my best pals. All right.
Hey, word.
Anyway.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, same.
That Inside Out scene with the imaginary friend, always.
Yes.
Like I die every time. I cry so much every time.
Oh yeah.
That movie's a masterpiece.
I do. This is so off topic, but that's my brand. One of my friends and I had a friend, imaginary, and we named him Choo Choo Head.
Why?
I don't know. I just remember that.
How old were you?
Definitely like kindergarten. Maybe
Okay.
younger.
Okay. That
Yeah,
will allow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're within age range.
It was definitely very little. But anyway, now is when I don't ask the questions that I'm supposed to, and I bring up stuff that I've written down while Brie and Theora talk. Actually, I wrote this beforehand, but you posted a picture on Instagram, and you brought up your parents earlier, so I wanted to tell you that I love this. Your caption was your mom saying, "Is this fashion now? Why is the shirt open like that? Please close it."
Aww.
It's always, it's funny too. It's like, it's so matter of fact too. Like, it's not even like, it's just so like, I'll just get like texts out of the blue just being like, saw this thing, fix your collar. Like, it's just weird. Just like, and it's very like matter of fact. I still to this day haven't gotten a compliment from my parents, not once. But I think that's just part of the Asian American experience. I feel like, we're the immigrant parents. They never really, they always keep you humble, find a way. But yes, that photo, exactly. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I always feel those photo shoots are so uncomfortable. Like, anybody that actually knows me in life, I am the opposite of that. And so it takes a lot to get me in that position where I'm like in that photo shoot and then like not self-aware enough to be like so self-conscious and stuff like that. And so even me, like, I'm also surprised when I look at this photo and I'm just like, okay, weird. That's weird. And so when my parents comment on it, I'm just like, yeah, you're right. It's stupid. I don't know why my shirt's open like that. I'm sorry. I should close it next time. So I get it. I get it. But yeah, parents, man, I love them, but that's what their job is, right? So
Yep.
Keeping you humble, yeah.
yeah. That's why anybody's like, oh, don't get too famous for me or whatever. People joke around. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Have you met my parents? There's no chance.
They're still critiquing fight scenes.
Oh my God. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I showed my dad this podcast and he's like, what? Can you position your camera in a way so you're looking here and not there? I'm like, Dad, no, just watch it.
They can never see the big picture. It's always like they straight away. It's just like there's that zit on your face. Take care of your skin more. Yeah. It's like, all right, well,
Yeah.
I love when my mom's like, I'm like, I can't do this thing with you because I have to work, and she's like, oh, is it work or hobby work?
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah. Oh,
yes.
Yep. Yep. So that's the life. That's yeah. You can imagine when I was trying to become an actor. You can imagine the conversations that were.
You're a strong person.
That were had. It was a lot.
Yes.
It was a lot. Yeah. At a certain point, you just start sneaking out of that. You just don't tell them anything. You just do things, and then and then you present them the data afterwards. That's how.
Precisely. Yeah.
Conduct the study in secret.
Speaking of data.
Yes.
So I don't know how great of a segue this is.
I know. I was gonna say. I was just like, you really, you've gone on the limb here. So let's see.
Wait for it. This is my job is to completely throw everybody off. That's the job that I gave myself. We saw that you have a degree in chemical engineering with a minor in environmental engineering. And to fact check that, I also saw that you were in a cappella while getting these degrees.
Oh, yes.
So
the Pitch Perfect movies are real. They're very real.
The Pitch Perfect movies?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So from that should tell you how much of a nerd I am. And proudly, I'm very proud of all of that. My girlfriend still makes fun of me for the a cappella thing, and I don't understand why.
Why?
No,
I don't know.
So cool.
Yeah.
She's just like, oh my God, you're such a nerd.
Cool now.
She's like, oh, you're such a nerd. But she's like in a cute way, she makes fun of me. She's like, oh God, you're such a nerd. But I'm just like, you know what? So here's the thing. I'm a musical theater fanatic. Like, that's why musical theater is my life. Like, that's where I was always doing musical theater on stage and stuff. And so I'm a show tunes person. And when I did
What's
chemical
your favorite
engineering,
show?
Oh man, I have a bunch.
Sorry.
No. My favorite would probably be, any of the Sondheim musicals, like Sunday in the Park with George or Sweeney Todd. All of Lin-Manuel Miranda's new stuff. I love Jason Robert Brown's music, so any of his.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to use those for auditions though.
No, overdone, way too overdone. Yeah. So that's the next. I really want to do musical again very soon. But yeah, but because of my schedule with chemical engineering and how hard and how much of a workload it was, I couldn't in university. I couldn't spend time to do any theater on the side at all. So the closest thing that offered me the experience of musical theater was the a cappella group. It was Solstice a cappella, but not Solstice. It was SOUL, Soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fine spelling.
You are a lead vocalist and tenor.
I was the tenor for 3 years. I was like the main tenor for 3 years. And we performed everywhere in Montreal because that's where I went to school. And then I even went to New York for like an a cappella competition. So like we competed against Columbia and Yale and some other colleges as well. I think we came like 5th place or something like that in that particular competition. So up until that point, I didn't think Pitch Perfect, but like it's very there's things get very petty and like there's little competition between the groups and even in Montreal, like we had like there was 3 a cappella groups in that city, and like we had little rivalries with them. Like some of them would get onto TV like a news channel segment or whatever, and some of us would just be very jealous the whole day. And there's a lot of a cappella politics, that are involved, but yeah, I'm a chemical engineer. That was my past life.
I almost tried to do a cappella, but I can't do harmonies. Those things are really hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It takes practice. It does. Yeah.
So this is how much we get off topic. That wasn't actually the question.
Okay.
The question was, what was the question? Do you think, what made you want to transition into acting instead? And do you think you would ever go back to engineering?
I think acting for me was always the number one passion. Like that was my number one thing. I've always wanted to do that since I came out from the womb. Like that was my thing, for me. So but I'm an immigrant. I'm like a first generation immigrant. I moved to Canada when I was 9. And so my parents and the way a lot of people like myself are conditioned is security and stability. And so going to drama school or becoming an actor and stuff, or even going back and doing things in Bollywood, because that's all I saw myself like represented as at that time. I was too whitewashed to be in Bollywood, right? Like I was just too much of a Canadian, like with like, I just, yeah, I even the way I would speak my own native language, I was like, it was too Americanized already. And so that wasn't an option. And then in North America, there wasn't enough representation for someone like me. And so growing up, I never gave myself permission to dream that way. My white friends could, because they saw themselves on screen, right? So that was for them. It was always an option. But for me, I just never dreamt that was even a possibility. And so even when it came time to high school, I decided to pursue engineering, mainly because I had really good grades in math and physics, and I was still really good at those subjects. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess this is going to be my life. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I guess I'll just do arts as a hobby. Right. And so when it came time to making that decision, that's what I did. And then eventually, as I went through university, I started discovering, little university clubs or a cappella, or, I would get a group of friends and we'd start shooting short films, and slowly I would give myself permission to do those little things. And then representation on screens started increasing also over time. So I started seeing more and more people that looked like me on screen. And so that slowly gave me the courage to be like, you know what, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to graduate, and then I'm going to give myself an actual shot at this. So acting was always the game plan from day one. But I took a bit of a detour because of the reasons that I mentioned, and those are very real reasons. Those are many reasons why still a lot of South Asian actors don't get into this business. It's because, it doesn't seem like a viable career choice for them, and so part of my responsibility now, and I do put some pressure on myself for that as well, is to be the first in my family to become like a successful artist, but also other, kids can look up to someone like me and also be like, hey, if he did this, then I could maybe do this as well, As for going back to engineering, I don't think I can anymore at this point, because I'm really far removed from it at this point. I'm so out of practice. And then the other thing I keep forgetting is every year people graduate from universities that actually want to be engineers who are way more qualified than I am at this point. So it'd be wildly irresponsible for anybody to hire me as an engineer right now, I think. So.
Well, I mean, if they want an entertaining engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
If they need musical theater in their office.
Exactly. At their parties, I can sing them some Sweeney Todd, and yeah.
We'd hire you for our parties.
I would only sing Solstice a cappella songs for your parties.
I love that.
Yes. Perfect.
So do you consider like engineering like the safe option?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you well, yeah, because it's the safest. In terms of bang for your buck, like the amount of time you invest in your degree and the job prospects, it is probably the safest degree out there. But if you truly love
Yeah.
it, then you should pursue it. But if you don't, it's doing yourself a disservice, you know. And um, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when I worked as an engineer, I took away. My boss actually even mentioned this to me because I would not skip meetings, but I just wouldn't show the same initiative that other people would, and I would like rehearse monologues in the stairwell during meetings, and I would like make up fake excuses to go to auditions while I was, doing my internships and stuff, and she told me, she's like, there's people that actually want to do this, and you're taking that away from them, and that's when I felt awful about it, and so um, it is, yeah, I think, yes, safe in terms of just like it's the security and stability it provides. Um, but yeah, at the same time, I think I didn't love it. So that's mainly why I didn't, stick with it.
Yeah, I think you answered the rest of the question. The
Yeah.
whole thing was many people choose the safe option when picking what to study and do as a career, me included. Do you ever feel like you wasted time trying to take the safe path instead of going after what you really wanted?
Okay, well, I will say this. I don't see it as a waste of time. I
Okay.
think all of those things make you who you are. I think that life experience has made me a better actor. If I didn't go through those experiences, I'm not the actor that I am today. I think, in fact, my advice to any person who wants to be an artist full time or an actor full time is have your day job and do your day job until you can prove that you can actually do this full time. Uh, it's always smart to have some sort of flexible side income of some kind. There's a whole fallacy that exists where people just move to LA and they pack their things and they move to LA and they make it big. Like that doesn't happen. That's pure luck, and it only happens to the 1% of people. I think for the rest of us, you have to be smart and strategic about when you decide to leave your job. You have to be smart and strategic about like when you decide to take those calculated risks. I think sometimes there's a lot of irresponsible advice out there where it's just like, do this and follow your dreams and blah blah blah, and yeah, that's all great and everything, but if you don't have a plan to follow that dream, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And so I think I always tell people, go do a job, go get some work experience, go travel, like get face some adversity in your life and do things that are outside of just acting or whatever, because all those things fuel your soul, they fuel your journey, they fuel your career, and so yeah, safe option is actually good sometimes. I think it's important to have that on the side,
That's very good advice.
Yes, realistic advice, I think, but
Yeah.
It's Praneet's advice corner.
I know,
That's the
like
segment of the
I've become a
podcast.
self-help guru now. All of a sudden, yeah.
Heck yeah.
So, transitioning a little bit out of like the self-help genre, we saw that you did a short film called Mom versus
Yeah.
Machine. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm very excited about it. It is, speaking of representation, I think part of my mandate for my production company is to do genre cinema, which means just like, I'm a huge anime fan. I'm a huge cyberpunk anime, like sci-fi nerd. And so like, I think part of the conversation of representation and diversity is to diversify the types of things that people of color get to be in, right? So instead of telling the same stories about minding their trauma, about, them moving as refugees from this thing from a country to North America and all their hardships all the time, instead of that, cast people of color in just fun things. And I think that automatically changes the conversation. So for me, the one thing I wasn't seeing is women of color who were 60 plus that were leads in anything. And the other thing was also them in a science fiction. And so, she's gone. Oh, no, she's back.
It's a
And
magic.
so it's based on a kind of a true story. I bought my mom a roti-matic machine. Rotis are Indian. It's like an Indian bread. And so my mom, the way she expresses love is through her food. She's an incredible foodie and she's an incredible cook. And sometimes we as her children take that for granted. And so I bought her this automatic roti making machine for Christmas. And instead of being like, oh my God, this is going to make my job so easy, she was like, what are you doing? You're trying to replace me with a machine.
Yeah.
And that's what prompted the idea of essentially this mother who gets gifted this automatic Indian food making machine by her son, her bratty, spoiled son, as a way for him to like leave her out of his life. And then she has an identity crisis about, battling this sentient Indian food making machine to compete for the affection of her son. And so it's this really fun sci-fi comedy about what being a mother actually means. And so we were able to cast this incredible actor, Nimet Kanji. She sort of exemplifies everything that we wanted in the role. And she's an incredible actor, but you never see her play roles like this on television ever. And so this was a chance to, work with her in that capacity. I got to play her son in the movie, and I produced it as well. And so now it's festival tour. It premiered at the Fantasia Film Festival in Montreal. It was just at Holly Shorts in LA like 2 weeks ago. So it played at the TCL Chinese Theater. It's going to be at the Brooklyn Horror Festival very soon. So yeah, it's doing the rounds now. And then fun Motherland fact about it is I had to go to war with Disney to cast S in the film. It was during the pandemic COVID time. And so when I was producing the short film, it was right in the middle of filming season 2. And I won't spoil it, but S plays this really cool part in it. And so I wanted S in it, and I figured it was smart to cast S too because we were in the bubble together. Yeah. And so Amanda Tapping and Tracy Jeffrey, the producers, they were actually on my side of things, but I had to like write up like a 15-page COVID plan and send it to Disney for them to approve both of us getting to do this film. So that was a stressful.
That makes sense for Disney.
Yeah.
We've had to deal with Disney a little bit.
Yeah. And I get it from the perspective of like it's a liability thing, an insurance thing. Mm-hmm. I get it, but like it was just they made life a living hell for me in particular for that 2 weeks, and I was just like, this is like such a low budget short film. Like, why are you wasting your time going after me for this? But I get it, and so we both S and I were very happy that we were able to do it, and so yeah, I really hope all of you get to check it out very soon. I'll have some news on it. It'll be out next year at some point on a really, really cool channel. So we did get distribution for it. And so I can't wait.
So cool.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
Totally
I can't wait for everybody to check it out. And thank you for asking about that. That's really sweet of you.
I love it. Honestly, like I come from like a very like Italian like immigrant kind of family, and so like that scenario, I was like, my grandmother would have killed whoever. Like if you try to get her a pasta machine, she'd be like, what am I supposed to do now? I have a really funny story about my grandma. So, okay, so recipes are like, passed down,
secrets,
mother and daughter kind of thing. My grandmother refused to do that. And so she would cook for holidays in the middle of the night so that nobody could get the recipe so you couldn't replace her. So that premise is so relatable. I love it so much.
That is so, there's a grandmother character in the film. It's very Godfather-esque. Like it's very she's like on a rocking chair, and she's just like, "What have you come to me with? What can I help?" It's very like she does a full Marlon Brando accent. It's actually like very, very intentional on our part. But that's the thing. That's the commonality between Indian and Italian cultures. Like they're very similar, actually, in many ways.
Yeah, food is
especially
a love
when it comes
language.
to food and stuff.
I love
it. Yeah.
But that's so fun. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. Alrighty. On your resume, you have a lot of accents listed.
Yeah.
So, how do you go about learning different accents, and are there any that were harder for you to pick up?
I think just watching. I mean, I don't do the whole Rosetta Stone thing or whatever. Like I probably should. Maybe that'd be an easier way to learn. But I just watch movies and watch actors and watch things from different countries to learn. Of course, without practice, I get very rusty. So if there's a project that I have to go into that needs a particular accent, I have to practice a lot before I start. But yeah, it's mostly just watching things. yeah, and theater, right? Like by doing theater, like you sort of learn trial by fire. You kind of do a lot of accents, just generally on stage. So yeah,
There you go.
So there's no good segue into this question, so I'm just gonna read it. While my dog cries in the corner.
I know, I can hear her.
Brooklyn.
well, I'm not hearing anything, so we're good.
Oh, great. Well, man.
I heard it, but that's just my supersonic hearing.
Yes. Bree's setup is amazing. We all know this.
We get it. It's got all the tech.
Just rub it in more. Why don't you?
Yeah. See?
Just rub it in.
What can I say?
Anyway.
It's the only thing I have, okay?
That's not true.
It's not true at all.
All right, fine.
You have
Read the question,
Brie.
Caitlin.
Come on, Caitlin.
So, part of my okay. I'm gonna read it now, okay, guys? Okay. So part of my family is from India, and I grew up really fascinated with the culture and learning about the customs. You were originally born in Mumbai, but immigrated to Canada at 9 years old. Do you remember living in India at all? And what was that transition like for you going to across the world, basically?
Yeah. I was born in India and I lived there till I was 3, so I don't remember much
okay.
till I was 3. But then I moved to Kuwait, so I lived in the Middle East for up until 9 years old. And then because Kuwait's so close to India, like I would go every summer basically and stay with my grandma and grandpa. And so my memories of India were essentially the summers there, like when I was not in school. Yeah. And so it was a lot of just playing outside. And where I'm from in India, there's a lot of monkeys, right? And so like, we have squirrels here, but there's literally just like monkeys that like run around. And so a lot of my time was spent chasing monkeys. Now looking back on it, it was probably very dangerous because the monkeys are vicious and they could have absolutely, it's kind of crazy to think about. But when you're a kid, you don't think about these things. And then and I love India. Like I really love India, and I'm glad I still have a good relationship with that country because I go back very often. My aunt and uncle and my grandparents still live there, and so I, now I go back every 5 years or so. But like before, I used to go back like literally every summer, and so I mean, in fact, it's so Indian too. It's just like even the summers I had to go to summer school as well. So like I would go to the Indian schools and I'd have my uniform, my little tie, and my backpack. Aww. And I would ride in the rickshaw, which is.
Do you have any photos of that? Because I feel like that's adorable.
I have tons of photos. I'll post some photos.
We need to see this.
Yeah. I'll post photos of all those little
tiny
Praneet, India photos, and so I would actually ride to school in a rickshaw. So like it would be like 2 cows and a dude that would just like go with the cows, and the cows would pull the trolley, and I would sit in it with my grandma, and she dropped me off at the school and then pick me up after it was done. But yeah, and part of also that country, like, there's no other country in the world, and it might be a controversial statement again, but I don't care, and I'll say this: there's no other country in the world that loves cinema as much as India does. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just a fact. Like, that cinema in that country is religion. Like, it is absolute religion. Like, multiplexes and movies, you have to make it, like, you have to, like, book things, like, 6 months in advance to even get a spot to be able to sit in a theater and watch a movie. Like, it is, every movie theater is packed. People celebrate cinema there like no other country does. And I think my love of cinema was partly because I was born and brought up in that culture. Like, it was just so ingrained into my brain from a very, very young age, growing up and watching movies in theaters there and stuff.
It's very ironic that it's like such a big deal, but then the career is not taken as seriously.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's because it's nepotism, right? And that's what it is. It's because every Bollywood actor they're the son of somebody famous, or they're the cousin of somebody's uncle or whatever. Like it's all nepotistic, and so I think my parents also, when they were like, "What are you doing with your life?" they were also just like, "Well, it's all nepotism. So what are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Well, that's in Bollywood, yes, but here it's less of that, even though it happens all the time, of course, but." And so yeah, it is 100. I have that conversation literally all the time with people, where even my parents and even my aunts and uncles, where I'm just like, you guys were the ones that like would sit me down and watch Bollywood movies with me all the time, and you do that all the time, literally. I mean, when you come home from work, all you're doing is watching Netflix, like, and so there's this weird like thing of like those people pay bills also, like they also do that for a living. So I don't understand how, but yeah, is what it is.
I feel like it's kind of similar to when they were like defunding the arts, and then but everyone turned to the arts in times of like when the pandemic hit.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
It's like, which do you want?
Totally. And I had a mini existential crisis during the pandemic too, because we were all out of work, and I also had. I was just like, what is my life? What's my life's purpose? Like, what's the point? Like, do I even matter? Like, what am my problems are so stupid compared to other people's problems, like, and but then I'm like, oh wait, but like everybody's consuming all this stuff, Could you imagine how bored and depressed we would all be if the arts didn't exist, And so there's a very, very,
Yes.
it's very valuable, And so I sometimes have to remind myself of that, on my bad days at least.
Yeah, and it's transformative, and like you were talking about earlier, representation has saved lives. So
oh yeah, definitely.
There's that aspect.
Yeah. I get messages from so many young Indian kids on Instagram, like from India directly. If that doesn't show it, then I don't know what else does. Really, I mean, like, it's it's crazy.
Exactly.
That's so beautiful. So, we have a quick question about something behind the scenes. So, Caitlin's already laughing. So, there was
I'm like confused. So let's go.
Right.
Because I wrote this question and I gave it to Fiora.
Well, that too. But okay, there's a video that you posted that Caitlin wants to ask you about, or for context, where and Brie, where you're running and like talking about being stupid, and then they can't figure out what's happening.
I also don't remember. I genuinely don't remember. I don't know. It's probably some inside joke. I have a feeling, and this is what happens as you get older. Like I just don't like. I'm 29. I'm not like so old, but like I don't understand how I forgot what we were talking about that day, because it wasn't even that long ago.
Right.
And
I don't remember what we filmed earlier. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I have no idea. And Amalia is the one that says it first, and so I obviously knew what she was talking about because I say it back again, and everybody's laughing about it. So I genuinely don't know. I wish I could tell you.
Does she know?
Let's ask her. Let's talk to her. Let's find out. Yeah, I have
Amalia,
no clue.
she's younger than us. She should be able to remember.
I think we might have like done something really dumb. Maybe I think we might have like the director literally probably said like, "Hey, do this," and we did the exact opposite or something like that, and then we were running back. It could be something like that. I'm not sure. And also keep in mind, like that video was at like 2 a.m.
Right.
And people get delirious, and we were. Yeah.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
We filmed most of our recap episodes at 2 a.m. for me.
Right.
So, and my part of the episode is at the end.
Yeah.
And so I'm sleep drunk the entire time.
It's dangerous because you never know what's going to come out. But
it is.
There's
some questionable stuff.
But luckily the cast is judgment. There was a judgment-free zone in the cast because we all were being absolute maniacs on set that day. But, yeah.
That's understandable.
Fun.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the set, how did filming Motherland compare to other productions you've been on? You kind of talked a little bit about how it was kind of set the bar, but if you had anything to expand on.
Yeah, I pretty much said everything when I talked about just the kindness, right? Like I think ultimately it set the bar for any future production because of how people treated you and how we were expected to treat others, and it was a family. I think that's the best way I can describe it, right? Like you just felt so cared for by everybody. I mean, Sherry, who was my on-set costume person, she literally was like my mom. Like she would every 5 minutes like ask me if I'm doing okay, and like as soon as I was cold or whatever, come put like the coat on me and like get me like hot snacks, and like it was just like she didn't have to do any of that, at all. I was just a recurring character on the show, like, and so, but that I saw that with anybody, whether it was a person who only said one line, a person that background and moved, sort of did nothing but just like walk in the background and walk back. Like everybody was treated the same, and so yeah, I think that's my experience really. That's the way I can sum it up the best. It's yeah.
I do have I don't know if I keep forgetting to ask this to people because we made these Valentines way back when it was like in February.
That was you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was going to ask you if you remembered them or if they ever actually got passed out because we never heard.
Oh, passed out in person? Like physical copies of them?
Yeah, they were like someone I think it was either hair and makeup. They contacted us and wanted to print them out and give them to the actors as like appreciation.
Okay.
So I always forget to ask if that ever happened.
I don't remember. Yeah. I also probably might not have been on set that day too.
You might not have, yeah. The one time I remember.
Yeah, well, I remember seeing it online though, because I think you posted it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's
how they found them. So they found them and we got contacted and we were like, we'd like to give them to the actors because they're so awesome.
Yeah, no, I did not get the Valentine on set at all, but I did. Like, I was filming my other show. Like, I got messages from fans. Like, I got postcards from fans to my trailer and I was in a remote location in northern Canada. Like when I was filming this, like I don't know how they found out where I was filming.
People are creepy.
Dedicated.
I can't say anything. No. I can't say anything though.
Yeah. No, I know, but it's just like I was, because it was just, they were so sweet, like the messages and like the letters and all that. It was like they didn't seem creepy like when it was written, but it was just like I was like, they did some deep dive, like they like went digging, like it was.
Yeah, I relate.
But it's public information. Now I found out later that it was there. It was like on the Film Trade Commission website or whatever. But yeah, crazy.
You just wait. You're gonna get like a random Valentine from us one day, and you'll be like, "Oh,
those creepers! All right,
those creepers."
Nah, I won't think of those creepers at all.
It's a challenge now.
No, not at all. I honestly find it all very touching. I really do. It's again, I'm just a recurring character on this show. It's not just the people taking time out of their day to do with that. I find it very, very sweet. So yeah.
Well, you made an impact, even if it was small screen time. You made an impact, so
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You've done a lot of amazing things in your career so far. But what is something that you haven't done yet but want to do or accomplish in your career?
I think I'm in an interesting place in my career right now where I've obviously I'm transitioning from the teen drama phase to more adult roles. I'm filming my most adult role to date, as you can see with the beard. I think that's the next phase, right? I want to work with really good directors. I want to play roles that are like I love the TV show Succession. I love the show Hacks on HBO Max as well. Like I love those types of, like, so I want to diversify. I want to do shows like that. I guess I want to do more comedic stuff as well. Like I have this weird. I really want to do a movie with Adam Sandler, and I don't know why. Like I just think he's brilliant, and I want to be, even if I'm just like his sidekick, or if I'm just like, I don't know, something. Like I love Adam Sandler's work recently, so I really want to be in like a movie with Adam Sandler. Was that your question? What was your question again? Your question was what I wanted to do.
Yeah, no. What do you want to do or accomplish in your career?
Yeah. I think on a more serious note, what I do want is, like with my production company, I do want to do what a lot of actors in Hollywood are doing right now, of course, but like I really want to be able to support like genre cinema for people of color, right? Like I really want to be able to make more movies like Mom vs. Machine on a bigger scale, on a bigger budget, and like Everything Everywhere All at Once was a great example of that. That was a great example of that. I like to think Mom vs. Machine inspired that movie, but it very much didn't. But no, but yeah, like you know what I mean. Like I really want to do stuff like that, and
Yeah.
I want to have a hand in producing those. So yeah, that's what hopefully 10 years down the line, that's what I hope to be doing.
Love it.
I feel like that's something Gregorio would approve of.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
On his soapbox.
On his soapbox, fighting.
I feel like I need to adjust myself too now.
Sorry.
Yes, follow the crowd.
We've all gotten taller.
Yeah.
Well, Praneet, we've come to like the end of the interview at this point, and just wanted to thank you, really, truly, for taking the time to meet with us and rearranging your schedule and all those things. We really appreciate it. This was enlightening and so much fun. But before we like close out officially, is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners at home before we like sign off?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say thank you for like welcoming me with open arms. You know, I've never been on a show with this much support and love before. Really, like it was just so touching. Both not just to me, but to all my castmates and all the new cast members. I can speak for all of them when I say that like we were absolutely blown away by all your support. And you know, as sad as I am to see the show come to a temporary end, because I know we're still fighting for future seasons as well. I hope to keep that relationship going. You know, like I want to support all your charities. I want to support the things that you all get back to, that you're all passionate about. This isn't a goodbye in that sense. It might be a goodbye for me contractually speaking, but I want to be able to support you all as well, as much as you've supported me. And so I want to keep that relationship going online and hopefully down the road, even if there's some fan conventions or Comic-Con type conventions and stuff like that. Hopefully I'll be able to make it out in person to some of them as well, and get to meet everybody in person as well. So this isn't a goodbye. This is just a see you later. And yeah, thank you so much.
Well,
you can't get rid of us.
Also,
you're stuck with us for life.
Yeah.
We've learned recently from David and Jesse, there is no goodbye in mother tongue. So like that tracks. This is a see you later.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is actually a goodbye for all the listeners at home because we are signing off. So again, thank you all for listening. Thank you again, Praneet. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Bye.
Literally anytime. This is great. And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all of our other episodes right here on YouTube. Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing and super gay content.
Until next time, stay safe and hydrate for lesbian Jesus.